What's up, guys? How are we? It is Hack back with our trade recap. It is May 11th. The market's fallen. We're heading towards our 930 wick right now, which was our original target. As you can see on this trade, we just took that out, so we weren't wrong. But I'm going to show you guys how I actually made a small mistake, ending up nicely today. But we actually missed out on probably $500 to $600 because I didn't target directly my standard deviation. My standard deviation levels told me that full TP was a little bit aggressive, and if I just targeted to the 3. Even to about the 2.75, we really got out with 45 points. Instead, I did hit a trailing stop, so it's still a good trade, but I could have left a little more. So we're going to talk about that. Overall in the day, it was bullish, but I did want to see a pullback after we ran the highs to start the day. So 9:30 open, you see we kind of just run up. We started to get some pretty good structure. We got a huge 1 minute gap to look to short out of. We see price really absorb up here, really slow down, and we see a lot of selling start to come in. Now, we don't short the top. We're not looking to catch the top here, but it was really nice to see this 1 minute inverse plus this 1 minute gap bring price lower. Again, I was watching on the 5 minute really to start the day, and we weren't really seeing anything until we did get a pretty golden setup that I did like. And again, it is a Monday. My plan was to be very passive today, come in very calm, not force anything. And that's exactly what we did. So I'm going to show you guys how we took this trade and kind of what it was based off of. Before we dive into that, read right here. This is everything that we kind of did in the setup. So it was a 15-second entry with a 1 minute bearish gap with a 5 minute short bias based off the standard deviation target to the lows. And our target was that 930 wick clear draw on liquidity. And it was risk-free very quickly because we hit our break even pretty quickly in this trade. So show you how we did this. Again, so we started to develop that 5 minute, 2 minute short bias, especially after we failed to take the highs here. After this wick printed and didn't take the highs, and now it's actually starting to look really ugly. We were getting really bad. So even though we had one more pullback, failed attempt to take the highs, and now we're really dumping. So although we were a little premature maybe to the full move extending, I'm very happy with what we did. So anyway, zooming in here, let's talk about our setup. 15-second gap, really, really big area to look to short out of. You can see right here, we get our EMAs pushing down on the 1 minute, 30-second. We get a really, really nice entry off the 15-minute. Now you're going to ask, why did we take this entry off the 15-minute? This is actually the wrong place. This should be right about here. Because this is where we took our entry. We took our entry as price continued to close on the 15-second below the EMA 21 and the 8, crossed under the VWAP. Again, the VWAP didn't have too much weight for me today, but we did form a really nice setup, as well as rejecting this 1 minute bearish FVG. I'm just going to break this down in the 15-second. A little messy here, I apologize. This red box up here is my volume absorption level on the 2 minute, 5 minute. You can kind of just see, I know there's a lot going on now, but you guys can see right here, all right here, this gap right here. So you guys kind of see when I say volume absorption, I'm just talking about levels where volume is kind of attracted to. So, there's wicks kind of everywhere, but look, if I drag this way, you can see that this was a key volume area for a reversal to the downside earlier this morning at about, 7:30. You can see right here, we came right back into this area when price dumped back down. We printed some wicks. We showed that volume was active in this area. A wick to the downside. Right here, we got to move through this. We get a wick, we close below, and then we get on move through. We trade back lower. We get a wick trying to go back higher, take it lower. Right here, we get a clean move through. We pull back into it. We go through it. So you see how volume's continuously being absorbed in this area. I knew this was an important area. This area lined up with a 5 minute wick that we printed with standard deviation to take us towards the lows. Now I know with standard deviation, it's usually, in the video that I explained for my WAP education as well, it's usually supposed to just be for top and bottom reversals. I personally, when I can attach it to a volume absorption level like I did here, one of my key areas, I still like to use it. It still gives guidance. And if you look at this, again, if we're targeting towards these lows, using standard deviation right here is kind of in the middle of the range, so maybe it's not the cleanest, but the issue is, and why I have an exception here, is because we were at all-time highs. So the manipulation at the high really isn't clean. We're not really manipulating an equal high or something like, an external high to short off of because there aren't highs because we're at all-time highs. This was about a new all-time high, so there's nothing really, we're not looking for anything there. We're just taking a new all-time high and then looking to short but fine reasoning. And through kind of the data that I've collected, you can still use intraday standard deviation. Or, kind of like intra-range standard deviation. So that's exactly what we did here. We line up our standard deviation levels. And like I said, looking back on it, my target was definitely aggressive. Now, I thought that this wick would be a target, a very clear target. But again, look how price continued, started to pull up right off of about the 3.5. We almost made it full target. I mean, we were about We were about 20 points away, lined up with the -4 at 65 points. I was looking for about a 75-point trade. Completely fine, but I did miss out on some money here. If I just TP'd around what is my golden area, what I consider my golden area, I go from the 2.5 to the 3, and I target the 0.5 of it. It's the 2.75. My golden area would have been exactly 40 points, and I would have been out stress-free. And I basically would have bottom ticked, and then would have went a little lower, and then it would have made that bounce. Now, I had a clear draw on liquidity, so I wanted to stick to that. And again, I wasn't tripping because I was already up nicely for the day. But that's kind of how we based this trade. As I said, we had that 15-second entry closing below both the EMA 8 and the 21 with that 5-minute standard deviation target. As we continued to see selling step up in the kind of towards the middle of the range, a little bit of a risky trade, but that's why it was such a good RR. Look how I moved my RR down as well. This was probably like 5 RR once we moved it down. It originally started here, but once we started to get momentum down, let's get rid of this box. Once we started to get momentum down, our stop went from this, which is about 1.5. Once we started to get to about this area, and we took out these internal levels, so this was our first internal level that we took out. This was our first break even, and then once we hit this, we started to trail. A stop. This. So just to clean it up a little because there's a lot going on here. But anyway, this went from about 1.5 to about 3 RR once we moved this down, and then yeah, I mean it was pretty clean. Full target, like I said. Closer to 5 RR. Yeah, like 5.3, even if I drag it farther, like 6 RR basically. So we did a really, really good job initially starting with risk, hitting our break-even levels, moving our risk down if for some reason we wanted to leave a little area. I just like to improve the RR once I hit my break-even because now we know that this area is no longer needed for our short. And again, shorting all-time highs, some people get a lot of scared, but I check my boxes. I have my discretion with me, right? I have it in my toolbox. I have all my confluences in my toolbox, so there's really nothing to be scared of. Again, it was a de-risk Monday. It wasn't like some crazy dollar amount, but it was more about taking the right trade today, especially to start the week. We have red forward Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so that's obviously my main focus. Just to start the week, get the ball moving in the right direction. We just wanted to be positive. We wanted to stack momentum, and we wanted to take a good trade. So that's exactly what we did. We paired the 15-second with the 1 minute, with the 5 minute, with a clear higher time frame draw on liquidity towards the bottom of that 930 wick. We did still target that 930 area, but we did have a massive 2-minute gap down here. Which is probably why we didn't take it essentially here. We had to go take more liquidity from the buyers to actually get that power move to sweep 930 and now sweep all this. And again, now you're getting your real sweep here. And again, this is where you use standard deviation usually for this textbook reversal. And now we're probably going to long back to oblivion and take new all-time highs. We'll see. But we probably definitely will continue to extend this move higher. But yeah, that's a trade recap. Pretty simple. Again, maybe not the most conventional basic hack trade setup. Because I kind of did take this in the middle of the range. That was kind of the main flaw and the main issue I had with this trade, that I was kind of shorting in the middle of the range into a fat 2-minute gap. And again, that's why this was the small size trade. It's Monday. Conviction plus convictions. We had good conviction in this trade. Conviction plus conditions. We had pretty good conviction in this trade. We had our reasons, but we also had 1 or 2 things going against us. Small size, conditions, no news Monday, smaller size. So again, this was more about taking the right trade on the right risk. And yeah, just a good way to start the week. That's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out. Keep watching future videos, like, subscribe, the whole 9. Get after it. Appreciate you guys.